Oh, okay. So should we start, Corey? Should we get going?
Yeah. Yeah, we can start.
Okay, so I guess we get to call the meeting to order. And hi, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. This is great. I'm sorry Max isn't here, but hopefully he'll be with us next time. The first thing we have to do is adopt tonight's agenda, which is pretty, I hope you all had a chance to take a look at it. It's pretty simple with reviewing basically what we did last time. I don't think we have any new business, but I assume, Corey, where it says old business on the agenda, that's a review of the things that we're talking about last time.
Yeah, it has
Has this week's. Okay, so can I have can someone move to adopt our agenda for tonight?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Josh. Second, can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richie. Okay, so the adoption of our agenda is passed. So let's just talk about, we have to talk about we have to approve last month's meeting. Is that right? From the 22nd, the minutes from 22nd. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at those? Richie, Josh, Alice, did you have a chance to take a look at what Corey sent out as the minutes from last month's meeting?
I did, and I wasn't here last month. And so actually, if I have a question about just what happened last meeting, do I do that now procedurally, or do I wait until they're passed and then just ask?
No, I think we have to talk about it because then we can pass them. Isn't that right, Corey?
well, is whatever you want to ask about on the agenda today?
Yes. What did you say was everybody? I'm sorry, Corey, I don't think I heard you correctly.
Is the subject like on the agenda for today?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I think we could just do it then.
Okay, perfect. So I
Unless it would change what's in the minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
Yeah. So any changes to the minutes from last month? Any changes? Okay, can I have someone move to adopt last month's agenda, last month's meeting minutes, please?
I moved.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Second.
I second.
Thank you, Richie. Okay. So we have now moved and seconded last month's meeting minutes. So now we can talk about the businesses that we need to talk about. So first on our list is the yoga in the park updates. Alice, anything? And please, if you're not feeling well, I'm sure we can handle that next month if you feel better doing it then.
No, I'm sorry. I actually don't have any updates. I have really been remiss on this. It's been a really busy spring, but I will get started on this project just as soon as I'm feeling better. There's not a lot to do to get it organized. I remember last year it came together in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to be a collaborator on it, I welcome that. My question about the minutes was just about the waivers. Corey, should I interpret that to mean that we're all set for one for the summer?
Yeah, so we'll get a system going to where we'll have one. You have to fill it out once per this summer session, and then we'll have like an attendance sheets that's shown to fill that out, and then have them like sign off that way. Like there'll have to be some sort of signature process, but we won't have to do like the waiver, a new waiver for attendee who's attended in the past each time.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your work on that.
Yeah, and then we can also put out an advertisement for local instructors if you want to do that, or if you want to go about your ways again.
No, I think an advertisement would be amazing if we can. I think we'd get a wider pool, and it's also great promotion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Okay, so yeah, when you start getting back up, running and getting back into the yoga, just contact me again. We can figure out where to get out there.
Perfect. That's great.
That's wonderful. Fantastic. Okay, great. So the next thing was the walking route project, but our two walking route project people are not here tonight. Max is was the real facilitator of wanting to get this walking project going again. And certainly, you remember Tyler kind of showed us the map which was cool. That was really great. And I thought there were some great ideas about adding to and connecting certain parks to each other. And so any other comments about the walking route project that anyone has?
No, I think we'll just have to table this one. I know that Max when he emailed back, he did say something about like looking at geocaching stuff more. So maybe he's connected with Tyler since or anything. So I think we'll just have to table that.
Okay.
One thing
And
I did want to ask on that, I'm not finding it right this second on the website, but somewhere on the city website, there is a list of tree walks. And I wondered if it was worth thinking about a way to merge those two projects.
that's
I think
all
those
right.
are not organized walks, but it's just sort of trees of Lake Forest Park.
I think using that to create a walking route or something would be great.
One thing
I-
you could do is invite the tree board has developed that, which is another citizens group. So one thought is you could invite a tree board representative to come to our next meeting and talk about that concept of merging the tree walks or outstanding trees or whatever it is with our parks walks. So that I think that would be a great idea to invite the chair or a representative who they choose to come and talk about integrating.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And I think we could, but I want to make sure that Tyler and or certainly Max, I mean, this really was Max's idea and thought. So I'd like Max to be here if we're talking about, adding a tree portion to it, which I think is a great idea.
And a number of the walking routes in there do center on, but are not exclusively on park property. So, there's, if nothing else, it would be good to see if we want to match anything up with it, or
Yeah.
if there are things that we can do in the parks that would help people, have copies of that or material from that in the parks available for people.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, Josh, that I think it would be really fun if there was some educational material up at the parks to say, hey, did you know that we have this, 500-year-old tree or whatever, what they do in several of the state and national parks, they'll identify certain things. So if there's something special, I think that would be awesome to have some kind of, I don't know, flyer or sign. I don't know. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I was asking mostly, partly just I wasn't sure the history of it or sort of where it lived. I figured it was probably tree board related, but I wasn't 100% sure. So figured I would just raise that. And
My sense is there was an old version and they've recently updated it. So the timing is really good.
Great.
So I just noticed with a tree walk, I was looking at the document, the fourth tree walk, starting at Animal Acres, it goes up to what's that road that goes uphill to heading up to Shoreline. There's no sidewalk on that route.
Yeah, Perkins Way.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Perkins,
Perkins
yes.
Way. Yeah.
and it is kind of, is there way for if we do organize a tree walk to kind of kind of
Yeah,
reserve a space for pedestrians, because we use that route very frequently, and a lot of the cars that go up and down that Perkins is goes drives beyond the 25 mph
Yeah.
speed limit. So I'm
yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked last time about closing roads for during an organized event, just having
yeah.
doing road closures for that event.
We'd have to organize it and make sure we have PD and Public Works availability on board, but I do think, you know, something once, maybe twice a year, they would be willing to help out with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Richie, because yeah, Perkins, I wouldn't walk on Perkins. There, no way. That would be scary. So yeah, as long as we could have some designated closure, I think that then it's doable, or a different route.
Plus,
Sure.
that's kind of an idea the Parks Board had last year, that, you know, when we were talking about the pandemic, that there could be some closures for walking. So it's kind of cool to merge those two thoughts together.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, anything else on the walking route project that we want to throw in tonight?
I just want to be sure, is that from the Stewardship Foundation or is that the tree board, that walking route? I didn't look it up.
I believe that it is. It's listed as a city publication.
Okay.
Yeah, Corey, I thought when they did their annual report, that was something that they mentioned.
Okay. I'm just curious because I did not know, so.
I don't remember the bird watching project. I'm sorry, are we completed with our discussion of the walking project? Anything else? Any other thoughts or comments on that? Okay, so we just have to confirm with Max that he'll be here, and then once we can get confirmation from Max and hopefully Tyler, and then we should invite the tree board person.
Yeah, get a little bit more movement and then,
Right.
yeah, or if Josh, you want to reach out to the board, just to get information about the walk in the meantime.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
So the bird watching was something that we had talked about on the first meeting that I was here as an
Right.
officially confirmed. We talked about that as another sort of activity in the parks that I was going to look into what would go into organizing some more official birding events through the parks. So I don't have anything scheduled, but I did talk to at Grace Cole. They do have a bird walk before they do their work parties. One of the volunteers there has been organizing those, and I reached out to I'm going to forget his name, Doug Wacker. Yeah,
Oh,
Doug Wacker,
We're gonna do
who is a UW Bothell professor. He's actually on sabbatical until August, and so he's been doing sort of organized bird counts in the parks as part of an urban ornithology study, but he's up studying crows in Alaska right now until August. So he and I will get together then and talk more. But he's interested in helping out with that. And I also reached out to, they're not called Seattle Audubon anymore, but they were at the time, and just to get their input on both to sort of help me thinking about designing parks and you know, thinking about park spaces from a bird perspective, but also they will do trainings for neighborhood bird walks if we can get a critical mass of people who would like to think about organizing those, and we could even think about along maybe some of these same I imagine that the places that you would look for birds are the places that you would look for nice trees. So it might
That's
be some of the
exactly what I was
same
gonna
routes that
say.
we're thinking about. That maybe we could try to have a going concern. And I actually over the weekend was down in Nisqually doing a kayak birding expedition, and
Nice.
so have been trying to take part in more of these events. I think birding really exploded during the pandemic, and there are a lot of wait lists on a lot of bird events. So I think we can find a good audience for a lot of this. And by the Seattle Audubon folks' accounts, the neighborhood bird walks have been really popular wherever they've been. So figure out what already exists, and then see what we can do to bring those into official park realm.
What is Seattle Audubon? Is that what you said? Or
Audubon.
But they changed their
And-
name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you remember what the name was?
They are now.
Something like Seattle Bird Connections or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
I think if you Google Seattle Audubon new name, you'll find it, but I think it has the word connection in it or something.
Birds Connect Seattle.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks, Josh.
Eventually
close.
we'll all remember that, but
Another question is like, is there like better times of the years for when migration is for like some of these things, or is it mostly just Pacific Northwest birds that live here?
I mean, I think part of it is that we'll see that it will change through the year for sure. But it's not there are places where you get, especially around wetlands, where you get concentrations of migrating birds in particular seasons. But a lot of the appeal for people who do this regularly, and I've been chatting with some of the folks who organize the existing walks, what's fun for them is really seeing that change. And so not just being out there when the migrants are coming through, but being able to see, to every week they're out there, or every month they're out there, and get to know, okay, this month I noticed that there was a robin, the same robin that had that little white spot on its tail, and it was there last month, but now as the season is changing, it's not there anymore, but there's still robins around. So there's a migration has happened that you may not have noticed that change if you weren't there on a regular basis. So different people have different relationships with birding, and you definitely have people who, when there is some strange variant that shows up, or some bird that gets blown way off course, and usually it's only seen in Asia, and all of a sudden it's in a park, people get really worked up and excited about it. But being able to see robins flying around and nesting, and then see the fledglings start to move around, and have that, it's a different way of having a relationship with the open space, and that would be, I think, part of the appeal. So there's something there year round for sure.
Yeah. I'm thinking regarding these walking tours, it sounds like we could incorporate and attract a lot of different people if we sort of highlight that there are different people there to assist us in acknowledging the trees, the birds, I don't know, plants on the road. I think that would be really interesting to have some naturalists who could be guides through these, if people want, on these walking tours. So it's like, I think birding is great. I think that would be a really fun thing. I think, having a botanist who could highlight some of the more interesting plants we have in Lake Forest.
Yeah, bring like what you can plant in your yard to attract
Bees and pollinators and I just think we could make it more, the walking tour could be more attractive and bring more people in if we appeal to different aspects of nature.
I do wonder, like, for bird watching groups, is there like a quiet zone that's like kind of needed, or it doesn't really matter?
It depends. I mean, one of the things that the Seattle Audubon folks were emphasizing in terms of sort of what birds are looking for in a park, which is a little bit the opposite of how we usually would think about it, but it is that sort of, it's the diversity of habitats. It's having it's quiet, you know, certainly for a lot of them. If they're going to be nesting, they want areas that are going to be safe. But having that range, that, you know, there's the tree canopy, there's something at middle heights, and there's something at lower levels, which gives them place to forage for food. They all eat different things. They all, and at different parts of the tree canopy. They need different places to nest. They need different places to be safe from predators. So, you know, having all of that, it's a lot of what you would think about if you look for sort of how to have a bird-friendly yard. You know, you want to have a brush pile somewhere nearby that they can hide from predators in. You want to have plants that flower at different times of years. So all of that helps, but, you know, it's not like you're not seeing hummingbirds out next to busy roads, or, you know, along the Burke-Gilman Trail where there are a lot of people also. So, you know, some birds are going to be sensitive to that, and some of them, you know, that's what gets you then walking out into the park and a little bit away from into more pristine areas. But there's a lot that you certainly see just walking along the street, looking at people's yards.
Do you know if anybody has any bird cams set up? You know, you see this, I have
Probably.
friends that have an eagle's nest, and every year they, this is in Pennsylvania, and they have chicks that have been, you know, born, and they watch the mom and dad come and go and build the nest for the baby, and it's all pretty cool. So I just thought of that. I thought, oh, I wonder if anybody's doing that in Lake Forest Park that you knew of, Josh.
Not that I know of. I mean, it's something that also, yeah, I feel like you hear of that, especially with like wood ducks and some of the other more high risk populations that people want to monitor. So that's something that I would imagine there must be some around Grace Cole. So there might be, I don't know of anyone who's put up a camera there though.
Yeah. Anyway, I think attracting as many people as we can to an activity that we all get behind, like a walk, and appeal to birders and botanists and all kinds of people. I think that would be, and just walkers, you know, just who want to walk and enjoy. I just think it would be great. I just think that would be really great. Yeah. Okay, anything else about our walking route project and our birding and our bird watching project? Okay. All right, well, I think we can then move on to the lakefront property process update. Who is doing that?
That's me. Just very quick. We have gotten proposals, and we'll be scoring and interviewing all within the next like week and a half. So
Wow.
by next meeting, we should maybe have like a consultant close to being on board. So
That'll be great. So once, Corey, once the consultant is on board, I mean, how do you have any idea, or Lori, do you have any ideas to when the Parks Board would start interfacing with the consultant? Or would that be up to them? I guess that would be up to them to determine.
I
right?
think it would happen pretty quickly, because
Okay.
they'd be putting together kind of a schedule and plan in more detail than we've talked about before. And then I think the board would want to have input into that and see and have a discussion of the points of intersection in the planning process, where the board is going to be more active, less active, you know, and how that's going to play out over the summer and into the fall. So I think pretty soon. Do you agree, Corey? I'm speaking, and you probably know more than I do.
No, I agree that you guys will be involved sooner rather than later, and I think levels of involvement will just kind of go up and down as the year progresses, but yeah, you guys will definitely be heavily involved through the process, so.
Well, with that in mind, because Richie and Josh certainly were not on the board when we did the prior walkthroughs of the new park, I think, and I really would love to just do kind of have a meeting for, you know, I hope we could do a meeting at the park where we just are there, and that's our focus for that meeting is certainly, I mean, there may be other things to discuss briefly, but I think it would be great if we could all, you know, get to the park and then just start brainstorming ideas and things that we might want to introduce to the consultants. And if they're premature, and the consultants can tell us, well, we're not there yet or whatever. But I think it would be great for us to have some documented ideas down for the park. What do you guys think of that?
For sure. And I think the consultant, you know, I think they'll also hopefully like there'll probably be levels to this. Like what's the, you know, like what's the dream versus what's reality versus what can we fund, you know, like, so they'll want all the input, and yeah, we'll get you guys out there sooner rather than later, do a special site visit.
So we have trouble having a meeting there on site because of the public meeting issue, and it's
Oh,
not
right. Sorry,
a
Lori.
site the public can access. So I think what could be possible, though, is we could have a sub number of people for a quorum and take a couple of you know, visits within a short window of time, and then convene back at City Hall. So that's a possibility, is to do that. So but I absolutely think in the next, you know, certainly in the next 30 days, it would be good to have a couple of times, Corey, when board members could go and look at the property, even if it's, you know, I guess three isn't a quorum, so we can have 3 people together taking a look around. It's really, I bet it's a little muddy right now, but it's beautiful, but kind of, you'll see the kind of ramshackle buildings too.
Yeah, I'll get looking and figure out a way we can schedule that 3 at a time or 2 at a time and get you guys out there again.
What about public input? How is that? Has that been considered, or how that's going to work, or is that in the purview of the consultant to figure that out as well? Corey, what?
Yeah, that'll be a big component. There'll be open houses, and that's the consultant's duty to get that public input. And then you guys are kind of also a shield of that as well, but
so they're going to have to take a video or something, Corey, because people can't access the property, right? So there's going to have to be some way, even just, you know, like a satellite view is not quite real enough.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, these
consultants
have all the new technology, so I'm sure they'll figure something out to be able to really convey what the property looks like and stuff, so.
And can you just sort of give us an overview of the timeline of, so the consultant is hired, what are the next steps, and how long, I mean, eventually a park opens.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that come in between.
Yeah, this consultant will be hired to do like the planning and figuring out like what we will need funding wise to build this, and then the next step will be finding funding to build it and then going to build it. So I would assume like this first process will probably be close to a year. That is something like when we get consulted, the negotiations will kind of take place on, you know, we don't want to like rush this process, but we don't want it to last forever either. So, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, actually. I think we're gonna get a lot, you know, and I think we're gonna get a lot of input from citizens. I really do. I think once people get wind that there's a new park and they're gonna have ideas of what they want, and I think I hope it's gonna be really great. And I hope the consultants have a way of managing that data that we receive from citizenry. That'll be good.
I do think there are a couple of nuances that occur to me. One is, you know, the aspirations versus the budget reality, I think is going to be an issue. So we may have to think about phase one, and if there's funding, phase two, you know what I mean? And the other thing is the neighbors who live along the road there, I think are going to need some special public engagement, and Councilmember French lives there. So I keep reminding him that he's going to have to lead that effort to engage his neighbors and make sure. I think their concerns will be parking, security, that kind of noise, that kind of thing. And those will all have to be addressed as part of the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's would be my thought. That was our thought when we went over the first time, is like, where are people going to park to go to this park? It's like, oh, that's a big question here. So yeah, there's lots, but that's great that the consultant will be on board pretty soon and we'll be able to start interfacing with the consultant. I think that's great. I really
Yeah, I think parking and pedestrian access will be the other issue, because I mean,
safety.
whether you tell people that they have to park at Third Place Commons, or you tell people that, or there's some parking, you still would hope that there's foot traffic coming over from town center. And even on days when people are migrating back and forth in the summer to the Civic Club, it can get tricky and crowded along those corners. So, you know, thinking about whether there's a way to streamline pedestrian flow.
I once raised the issue, you know, those flashing crosswalks where people, you know, the lights go on and so forth. So you at least are giving more of a signal to the drivers on Bothell Way to slow down. But I have been advised that those are only for a location where there's not a traffic light. Like mid-block. But I really think if both of our intersections had those flashing lights when the light was red, it would be an asset. But I've been told that, you know, I don't understand highway planning.
Well, I have paint that we can use to mark it, Lori.
I have a question.
Guerrilla road planning.
I don't want to take this conversation in a different direction, but I haven't heard updates for a long time about ST3 in terms of parking garage, or, you know, back in the day, I felt like I was seeing pictures of possibly a pedestrian overpass. Is that plan, did that die during COVID, or is that still sort of in the background?
So two separate things. First of all, the parking garage is on hold till 2044. So it's kind of like,
okay,
you know, will it ever be resurrected? I'm not sure. So because of that, I've actually proposed that the council develop some residential parking permit programs in areas that could be impacted by sound transit if people are parking in the neighborhoods. So Brookside, by 165th, down by 153rd. So you could actually petition if you had, 60% or more of your neighbors, you could petition to get a residential parking program. So people couldn't park all day. They could park for a couple of hours, but they couldn't park all day because we didn't get the parking garage. So that's one issue. The second issue, Alice, though, is the overpass underpass issue. That's a separate grant that we have to study that, and that's continuing forward. There are complications with both approaches, over or under. So we did like a very we contracted for a very, very high level feasibility analysis, and now it's zeroing in on, I think, the two most likely over and under alternatives to kind of see if we have something. Part of the issue with under is security and groundwater. Part of the issue with over is it takes up so much space. And then, we can't interfere with Burke Gilman, and so it becomes complicated. So yes, that is something that is still in the process. And at some point when we get a report from the consultants, we could have them come and explain their latest findings to the board. That's something, because it is kind of relevant to the park, isn't it?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that update.
Yeah. If that's helpful, hopefully it is.
Yeah, completely.
Okay, so anything else on the lakefront property process? Any other questions? Any thoughts here? Okay. So the last thing I think, other than the other, is our agenda item that we are going to be meeting on the 4th Tuesday of the month rather than on Wednesdays. And is that still good with, is that good with everyone who's present?
Yes.
Josh, does that work for you? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And is that just going to now be our forever?
Yeah, we'll just move it to those 4 Tuesdays from now
That's
on.
good to know. Okay, that's very helpful to me to know that we're changing that. Okay. And then is there anything else that anyone would like to introduce tonight? I just, if you guys didn't hear, if you didn't hear, the city was very, very kind, and we now have no more tape up at the pickleball courts. We have 2 courts. They are painted with beautiful orange painted lines, and everybody just loves it. Loves it. We have our beautiful nets, and we are rocking up there. So if you want to come play pickleball, come on. We'd love to have you. That's all I wanted to add on that.
Yeah. And then the other thing was May 11th is when Tyler will be going to council with the work plan. If anyone else would like to join, I'll send an email about that next week or two. But
sure.
Yeah, the April, I think it was like 13th meeting, already had like a couple presentations, so couldn't get on there. And then Tyler's out next week, so May 11th it is.
Okay.
I have one bit of information I wanted to let you know. My council term is up in December. And so I've had, and you have to file by May 15th, or the 2 weeks that start May 15th. So I've been mulling what to do, and I've decided to try to get reelected again. So yeah, so there we go.
All right.
Yeah, I did mull it. I did go back and forth, because it is a commitment of time and energy. But I really want to stay and work on the master plan for the Lakefront Park. And I'm also the liaison to the Planning Commission, just working on our new comprehensive plan. So I have a lot to keep me busy, at least for a while. So I think it's good to stick around, but we will have, I think Councilmember Cassover is not running again, so we'll have at least one vacancy. So if you know someone who wants to run for city council, May 15th is the
Ooh,
time
sign up.
that you have to start filing. It's kind of way out in front of the November election, but that's the way it goes.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Talk to people.
Yeah, Amy, this is your chance.
No, I don't know. I learned a long time ago. I am really not good with numbers and budgets and things like that. I no. So not my expertise. I'd much rather just be looking at the parks going, yay.
Yeah.
I like these parks. And I
Orange lines and nets.
like lines. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Anyway.
That's all for me.
Okay, great. Anything else? Are there any other comments, thoughts, ideas for tonight's meeting?
Oh, I have one. I was just I don't know if this is the forum for it, but in the course of organizing the multicultural celebration at Meridian Park, I came across grants that are open at For Culture, and I was just wondering if there is, and it is an open grant, if there is an activity that the funding is for $1,500, and if there is an activity that we can propose that we can do for the summer that is arts related, that is open to the community, is it okay to propose it here and have it applied for a grant at For Culture?
Yeah,
I'm
I think the park board could apply for it, or like maybe the city would apply for it on the behalf of the park board. I think we'd have to like look and figure out what the details of that would be, but I think that's a great way to start.
Is there a deadline, Richie?
No, there's it's year round, and I was thinking, for example, it's in the line of you know, in Seafair they have a parade in Lake City, and I was thinking, oh, maybe we can have something. It's not a parade, but like, for example, let's invite a Japanese drum group. There's a youth taiko drum group that's based at the Japanese Cultural Center that is playing in Meridian for our multicultural celebration, but we can invite them here, and then they can be paid through the grant from For Culture, and then it can be at the Animal Acres Park, for example, and then we can have all the youth in, because it's a youth taiko group, and we can have the community come over, and it'll be a picnic, and they'll have Japanese culture that particular day for 30 minutes performance and interact with the drummers. And so it'll be something nice for the community to have in a summer, for example.
I wonder if we could do, I think that's wonderful, Richie. I really do. I'm wondering if we could do more than maybe the taiko. Maybe we could do a Native American, you know, do a cultural activity where we highlight some of the different cultures that are certainly in our community. And that would be awesome, especially if we did a food thing where there was, you know, contacting food trucks with different cultural food.
Yeah, what we're doing in Meridian is we expect the Meridian Elementary has around 500 students, and we expect we'll have 1,000 attendees, which includes you know, family members, and we'll have food we'll be doing a food walk where families will be serving food from their respective cuisines, and it's going to be free for everyone. And we're just the PTSA is paying for the performances of the cultural groups.
How many cultural groups are you having?
we have 3 groups that are performing: a Filipino dance group, an African dance and drums group, the Japanese taiko group. We're hoping to get someone from the Persian community because we have Iranian families, and I haven't heard from the Arab, because we have several countries that are Arab, that are part of the Arab community. And so we're hoping to get, and that's why I asked if we could borrow the stage from mobile stage from the city that used to be owned by Shore Lake Arts. But all those connections I am going to gather, and whatever I learned from the experience we have with that multicultural event in Meridian Park, I hope to bring in to the city, and then and eventually maybe I can propose something that is for the community of Lake Forest Park.
Even if we could get 2 performance groups plus some food trucks, and $1,500 would cover that for us, I think that would be great. I don't think we can have families offer food because of the food service rules and so forth.
Right.
But I think, Richie, that's a great idea. And if you can get the grant information, share it with Corey and the board, and then kind of pull some, an option together. I think that sounds really fun. I mean, honestly, I think it sounds fab for all ages, basically.
Yeah, a multicultural event with entertainment and food in one of our parks. I mean, how much better does it get? That's awesome. That's just awesome.
I'll pull something together, and then I'll have something ready for our next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know the Peruvian consult group, they stopped by today and are looking to bring back a celebration at Animal Acres this year too. So
that would be great.
There you go. Put them on the list. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, Richie, that sounds really exciting. That's fun. What a great thing for us to look forward to working on. That'd be great. Okay, is there any other business that we would like to address? Yes, Josh, please.
At the last meeting, I just remembered we had been talking about the Green Fair that's coming up in 2 weeks.
yeah.
And whether we were going to try to have any presence there on behalf of the Parks Board and the city parks.
Like I will be there, obviously. If you guys want to, I mean, I would welcome you guys to come join. I don't know if the Parks Board necessarily needs a booth at this point, unless you want, you can talk and we can figure something out if you think you'd want to, but yeah, it'll be taking place next Saturday. Or wait, not like 2 Saturdays, but
What's the date? What's the date?
April 29th.
Ah, okay.
And we had talked about having, handout or a map of park locations, maybe just based on what's in the Prost plan. I don't know if that's, if the timing on that, if it's viable, but if there were any other materials or things, including, it doesn't sound like we'll have necessarily a schedule then of yoga in the park or other things that we could sharing, but if there's anything that we want to be able to share with people there or have ready in time for that.
Yeah, all great ideas. I could probably try to put together like a schedule. I don't think I could do like a full like map of parks by next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that had been kicked around at the last one, but I don't know that we made any actual decisions to do anything with it. So
Yeah, I'm glad.
since it's next week, I figured I would ask and make sure that we hadn't committed ourselves to anything or that we didn't want to if we weren't
But
already.
you could stop by.
Yes.
Who's heading up this green park or green?
Green Fair. That's
Green
me.
Fair. Just you, Corey?
Yeah, it's Third Place Commons hosts it, and then we invite a bunch of environmentally friendly type organizations for educational information, a lot of like climate action and natural yard care and that sort of stuff. So
Okay,
there'll be a workshop on recycling and composting. So
nice.
be releasing the schedule tomorrow, and should see a mailer in your inbox the next day or two. So yeah.
Great.
Vanessa?
So I don't know if we answered your question, Josh, as to whether we're going to have a presence there.
It sounds like we won't have a booth, but unless someone feels insistent that they want one. But it sounds like we can
If we,
maybe we
we're
can
not-
sit at a table with Corey and keep her company.
right,
Yeah, maybe not quite there yet, but we're getting close.
yeah. See, Josh, you could just go there, you could just go and sit with Corey and have a little sign that says, ask me about our parks.
There you go.
There you go. That's all you need. And you can just be the liaison and talk and, give them your best shot. I think that would be great. We'll tell Tyler he's been assigned to do that in his absence. Okay. All right, is there any other business that anyone would like to?
We don't have any citizens or attendees, so
Yeah, I checked, I don't believe we have any citizens attending our meeting tonight. So could I have a motion to adjourn? Can somebody move to adjourn the meeting, please?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Josh. A second.
Second it.
Thank you, Alice. Our meeting is adjourned and we'll see you for the last Tuesday of April. No, this is it.
Fourth.
What is this? Now I'm all confused. When
May-
is our next meeting, Corey?
May 23rd.
May 23rd. Okay, guys. I'll see y'all May 23rd. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you all.
That was great.
Good night.